Natjoints mobilizing all its resources, including all stakeholders, to ensure that measures are put in place and to prevent and combat any form of lawlessness amidst threat of a protest by striking truck drivers. So for on this, we're going to be joined via Zoom by the chairperson of African Unite Borders Bus Trucks Association, Mokwati Pumutso. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us here on the SABC.
Afternoon, listeners and the viewers outside. Thank you very much.
Mokwati, perhaps you can give us an update. What is the current status of the shutdown from your understanding?
From the point of view, from what we are asking, we are not going to embark on the protests because this is going to affect the African free trade market within the SADC region, because you will remember that our association, we are not local only, we also represent even the cross-border trucks and buses within the SADC region. So if the issue of the foreign national, it was going to be understandable if maybe they are saying the trucks, only trucks which are driving within the local, it was understandable, but they must not generalize to say all the trucks, because this is going to affect the trucks within the continent, within the SADC region. And from our point of view, we are objecting and we are standing to say we are not going to be part of that protest, because this is going to affect even the investors. And also this is going to fuel the violence such as xenophobia and also killing of innocent people, burning of trucks. And you will remember that this type of problem, this is not the first time. This type of problems, it is affecting mostly the black community, mostly the black people in a way. Like you will remember that during the Liberation War, African people, they used to be divided. When you find that the vendors were abandoned in vendors, the Tswanas were abandoned in Gazanku, the Tswanas were abandoned in Ukutatswana, the Zulus were abandoned in KZN. The Xhosas were abandoned in the Transkei. So we were not going to promote that, because what will happen, the question will be, what will happen for the drivers who are driving, crossing, the South African drivers who will be crossing to the SADC? Are they going to offload their goods on the border? The answer it is no. We are saying somebody, if is not doing their work, we can support them with a court to look who is failing in the Department of Transport, in the SADC region, in the SADC office or DICO, or in the Department of Labor and Employment. That one we're going to support them through court, but not to threaten, not to kill the innocent people, because what is happening, the rest of African people, they are suffering because they don't benefit from the national resources, such as land, such as minerals, game and the reserve. So an African child is always suffering. You will see what is happening in the SADC region.
Let me just interject there, because you have said quite a mouthful, and I really want to not have it lost in translation as well. You're speaking about, the measures that have been mobilized ahead of the truck strike. Perhaps before we get there, are you in any way in agreement at all with some of the concerns raised by some of your colleagues who are part of the truck's shutdown?
We are not part of that, because we know exactly that it is going to affect the business, and it is going to affect our relationship with our sisters country. Thank you.
All right. So thank you for that clarity. I then want to look at the measures that you spoke about at the beginning. You've put all your measures and resources in place to prevent any lawlessness or potential lawlessness. What does that mean? What have you done? You've also called for a response from SADC head office. Has there been any response from them? You've also mentioned that court is an option.
Yes. You see, you will remember that some of this problem is not the first time. It is a continuation. We also write our grievances with the office of the SADC or DICO to speed up, to call even the president, the leadership of the SADC region, so that they can see, so that they can find a solution in order to make sure that this issue of the employment this issue of the violence in Africa must come to an end. Because you remember, it's not the problem only in the truck industry. All over, people are crying with the scars of jobs. There is no jobs. That's why we call the president leadership in Africa to solve this problem is urgent, because if we don't do that, this problem is not going to end. Innocent people are going to die.
Yeah, absolutely. Just very quickly as we wrap up this discussion, many drivers in South Africa have the view they've been displeased by the employment of foreign drivers, whilst there are plenty of capable drivers in South Africa. What do you have to say to that? How can SADC intervene in that plight?
Pardon?
So there are some South African drivers who have the view that there are capable drivers in South Africa that are being replaced by foreign drivers. These are some of the sentiments, some of the concerns that have been raised. How do you respond to that? How do you think SADC can also intervene to solve that situation, perhaps make it into
of the network?
Okay.
What I can answer that one. I was disturbed with the network. What I can answer that one is that that's why we are saying we can't generalize to say all drivers must be the foreign. You will see that we must promote local, but on the other hand, we must also employ qualified drivers. You will find that our country, we are experiencing so-called high accident on the daily basis. So we can't just get any drivers from the street because he's a South African, then we put him in the job. We must get qualified drivers and then we put on the job. I thank you.
Mokwati, thank you for your time here on the SABC, engaging with us, sharing some of those sentiments. We will continue to monitor and see what unfolds. Chairperson of Africa Unite Borders Bus Trucks Association, Mokwati Pumutso, joining us. Obviously, we heard that Natjoints mobilizing its resources at this point, including all key stakeholders, to ensure that measures are put in place to mitigate and prevent any forms of lawlessness amidst threats of a protest by truck drivers. Of course, as Mokwati mentioned, it's going to have some economic effects. Let's see if we can get to a resolution before it escalates. So again, thank you to him for his time here on the SABC.